Well, West Tigers fans, welcome into round 4 of the Coach's Corner with Adel Hage, a heartbreaking one. I'm literally just walked in the door, come back from town. As you can hear, I'm battling both a bit of a cold as well as the cases of yelling at a certain person in a green and black shirt all night. So this one is very fresh, very raw. Just like my voice tonight. Firstly, I'll go to my co-host in Mr. Bashara, who is out at Campbelltown with me as well. Rob, we're recording this at 10 p.m. on Sunday night, so full time's about 2 hours ago. Very fresh, very raw, and heartbreaking one for the boys.
Yeah, it's actually quite devastating, Josh. Good evening to everyone out there. Well, it's not really good evening. It's absolutely shit, to be honest. Sorry, I can't hide myself. I'm devastated for the boys, guys. I'm devastated for what it means to our chances. To have gone into that 3-1 going into round 5 would have been fantastic. I don't think we were the better team, but you keep saying things, that you might forget. But I look back at our games over the last 5 years or so. There has never been a more courageous one than that tonight, and we've got nothing to show for it. It's just a pity that 2 of our losses have been both 2-point losses, extremely close losses, and our 2 victories have been quite comfortable. That's going to hurt the boys. There's so much positive stuff to take out of that, but I'm devastated for them. I'm devastated for our fans. It just could have done so much for us to have such a courageous victory. And like I said, a minute ago, we've unfortunately got nothing to show for it.
Before I throw to Adele, just give a quick plug to please follow us on all the socials at West Tigers Life on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. Find us on Facebook, and please give us a like and subscribe on YouTube. We're trying to get to 2,005 followers on all of those outlets this year, and I think we can do it. Especially the boys, as Rob said, they were very formidable in their performance tonight, and it's definitely a team you want to get behind. So please support us as we support the show. And speaking of supporting the show, a big thank you again as I bring him in, Adel Hage from up there in Brisbane. Lucky for him, it's an hour behind, so not quite as late at night. But do appreciate you tuning in or calling in, Adel. Yeah, it is still pretty late on a Sunday night, and the game just having finished.
Thanks, Josh. Yeah. Good evening, Robert. Hope you're feeling okay.
I will seeing your lovely smiling head, but it's still too raw, Adele. Very raw.
Yeah, look, I said, before we started, I actually said this is one of those times where I'm grateful that I've spent the last 14 years learning how to be a coach and controlling emotions after such an emotional roller coaster. Obviously, I get to watch it as a fan, so I was actually sitting in the TV room with my mate here who I live with, and he was writing it with me, and yeah, very disappointed. Biggest reflection, obviously, immediately is, coming into round 4 now. So, things start to get real, and you start to, really dissect it from a coaching perspective, what's happening and what we can do better. And, it's not so much pointing fingers, but at the same time, you are looking at individual moments and efforts, and obviously some things that you can't control. But yeah, it's a bit tough with the situation we are. Like I said on previous episodes, we've got no leverage. We're not in a position where we're able to sort of control things that we can't control. So yeah, tough one tonight for sure. I think the positive, Rob, off you just said is, that's 2 losses we've had by 2 points. Yeah, you can kind of flip that and say, it's good to see that we're a team that is not getting, in those sort of situations, especially on a night like tonight where everything went against us. Anything that could go wrong went wrong tonight, and we had no right to be in that football game. Other people may think differently. We had no right to be in that game today, especially after that first 20 minutes. The first 20 minutes was crucial for me, and the murder they got away with, the Warriors, of slowing our ruck down. And after watching the Bulldogs Cronulla last night and some of the penalties that were given, and then all of a sudden, he forgot to blow penalties in that first little bit. It's weird. Like, it was weird tonight. That was a weird game.
Well, speaking about not being shouldn't be in the game. I'm going to take my throaty voice and jump out and enjoy the show with you boys from afar. So I'll leave it to you, Rob, to run the show with Adele.
All right.
And
Thanks, Josh.
I'll see you guys on Wednesday night.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Adele. Obviously, I'm going to be leaning on you tonight a fair bit. I don't have any stats prepared. I haven't rewatched the game. I might just babble on for 30 or 40 seconds and just give you my take from the start. I mean, obviously, losing Adam was crucial pre-game. You can correct me when you speak, Adele, but I believe that we weren't allowed to replace him with anyone but our 18th man, which was Latu Fainu, who played unbelievably well. But at the same time, Adele, that gives that bench, a massive imbalance in terms of having two smaller men. I know we try to play him as a lock, and he was brilliant, but you got Talon there, you got him there. You're missing one big body against a really big pack in New Zealand. I thought New Zealand came out of the blocks hard. Their line speed was ridiculous. I'm sure they were offside a fair bit, but the ref didn't want to sort of do much about it. How did you see that first 20 minutes? I know you said that the ref wasn't giving us a fair go, but just from a New Zealand Warriors perspective, what did they do well that we couldn't control?
Well, they were basically allowed to lay there in the rocks. Our play the balls were, the play the ball speed was okay, but it seemed like I think we were 30 metres out of yardage every week, every carry. A little bit of that's on us, but at the same time, anytime we poked our nose through the line or we found our front and earned the right to get a quicker play, the ball, we're never given that. It took a lot for him to give a penalty early in that game. It seemed like he made a decision in the wet to not give away penalties and give a little bit of leverage with the ruck, and that didn't suit us at all, especially with no Skelton tonight. And our sort of yardage carries, like Taruva was a beast coming out of yardage. And what I think it did was it sort of affected sort of the back end of the game. I thought, the ability for us to not be able to get out of our end, but yeah, I was disappointed with that first 20 minutes. I thought that they got the ability to just go downhill for the first 20 minutes of the game. We struggled to get out of yardage. I know I'm sort of looking at it from a perspective where I think the referee should have given us the opportunity to get out of yardage quite a bit, but our contact defensively was pretty poor in that first 20 minutes.
Yeah, it seemed to me like when I look back at the whole game from pre-game to full time, it was almost like we weren't meant to win. Having watched the Cup game before at Adele, the wind was cyclonic. It was a 12 to 18 point win in Cup. It was definitely a 12-point win in the first half. And even when it was 6-6 during the first half, I was thinking to myself, if we go in even down 12-6, I'll be happy with this because this wind is strong. And you wouldn't believe it, mate. The wind just basically dropped off the last 25 minutes. There was no wind at all. So, I mean, we nearly got a 40-20 out of Appy. It was just a couple of metres short of it, but we lost that advantage. I was hoping at halftime we were going to, kick early with this cyclonic wind behind us, and that wind died down totally. But look, back to the first half. First try, what did you think of that? I mean, I thought it was quite unusual that Volley was standing where he was at the time. It was kind of like he was almost out of position, or he's playing like right edge back row. Like, what was going on there?
No. So that's actually he's him in the right position. So what happened there was the previous play we got to a situation where the men on his inside or the 4-man, I think it was Seyfarth, had to make the tackle. So your middles actually have to work and go across and become part of the help.
Okay.
He overchased. I think again, you don't fault that because it's effort. So when you review it, you sit there and you go, mate, it was good effort for you to get hard. They were on the outside of you, but an outside back's footwork on an edge sort of can beat a back rower. Poor miss from Lockie on the inside. And mate, that's the one thing the Warriors have got. They're very big athletic bodies and they can make you miss tackles. And that's what they did early in the game. It was a little bit of us sort of not being in the physical want in the first 10, 15, 20 minutes. And that's what I was sort of alluding to before. Like the Warriors carried really strong. We didn't carry as strong. Our contact wasn't as strong. And I think we didn't go after the physicality of the game in the first 20, which we have in the first couple of weeks. But didn't do that. tonight. So that's probably where that first try. It's a bit of a soft try, but hey, we reacted to that. I don't think that the try wasn't an issue. Yeah.
I think their 4 tries were pretty soft when you think about it. 3 of those tries, they just went through holes, whether it was through us or around us. The only try where there was any type of contact was when Niokore scored their second try. But let's just get on to Fanua Bole's first try. I thought it was a really good hit back from the boys. We really tried to sort of work them over through the middle. How did you see that passage in play and that resulted in that try?
Individual brilliance. He bumped off for Fisher Harris. Again, if you're the Warriors, you're sitting there going, you shouldn't be allowing that try. So a little bit of 1 for 1 there for both sides. That's the type of sort of tries you get in that weather. But back end of the year, quality sides, you won't see those tries getting scored, both of them. So it's a bit of 1 for 1. You sort of don't sit there and go, that's a sign of how good that's the type of football we're going to be playing. That's just running you can call it multiple different plays, a runner back against the grain, and Fanua 1-on-1, but 90 times out of 100 he's not going to score that try. But that was one of those moments where his footwork and his ability to pump off Fisher Harris, and they scored. So you take that one. It's an ugly one, but you take it.
Yeah, no, look, I mean, sort of leading up to again, I don't want to point out players for bad plays when they've played well in their stints or whatever they've done, but prior to the Niokore try, there was just a needless pass or a needless forward pass from young Talon De Silva to Alex Seyfarth, who was on his own down the blind side from memory. And then a few minutes later, Samuel Afenu is hurt really badly. He's standing on the left wing. They try and expose it, and somehow we came up with some amazing scramble. But then shortly after that, I mean, obviously Samuel is not there. Niokore targets Jerome Luai right on the try line, and poor Jerome Luai is not going to be able to stop that.
Yeah, that Benji will be very upset with that in video. The fact that we got the chance to set our line, Sione goes to back row, they just run a basic line, and Sione's lazy. That's laziness. He leaves Jerome isolated, and it's a poor that's not the standard I can tell that they want to be having. He just comes really slowly off the line there, and you've got to have better line speed. That's the sort of stuff we talked about previously against the Dolphins, about sort of inside your 10 metres there, your A and B defender's got to be a lot quicker off the line, and he wasn't. And yeah, that's poor try. Poor try, disappointing. Like I said to you, anything that could go wrong, but even, without going too deep into it, like the Fainu, because I know that we're going to, and I don't know, Rob, if you want to talk about this now or later, but that impact on that in that passage, that impact, the reason why that situation was so crucial to us was because you sort of plan with your interchange as much as you can, and in that situation there, we'd just made our third interchange, so it was 3 minutes earlier. So Uppy had just come off for Talon. We'd made the change with Twali and Fanua. They come off in their spells, and Terrell keeps playing. So you've made 3 interchanges, and what you want to do is make 2 or 3 in the first half and have 5 up in your sleeve in the second half. 1 for just in case, and 5 because you want to be as fresh as you can. The tough part for us was 2 of the injuries come then, and one of them is Tito coming off with a HIA, which to me is absolutely ridiculous. But then on the Fox commentary, it was actually said that it wasn't the independent doctor, it was our club doctor that asked for him to come off. So the only thing, and I'm not giving anything away here, the only thing I could think of there was 5 minutes to go to halftime. You can actually strategically use that as an interchange. If you take someone off with 5 minutes to go, basically what that means is that you've only got to have that bloke. If you think that technically, you can get 5 minutes without that player, because whoever comes on for him doesn't have to come off for him. So you can actually gain an interchange by doing it. So technically, we actually gained an interchange from it because Tito comes back on after half time. And I'm just trying to have a look at who he comes back on. Oh, they actually took Latu off. So we didn't actually gain an interchange from it. But the ridiculous one is, how can he come off for a HIA? But well, actually, I'm just contradicting myself because the club did it. But in most cases, there you don't do it because. But if the independent doctor did it, he'd sit there and go, "How could he come off for a HIA if there was no penalty for a high tackle?"
Well, it
So he
seemed like
wasn't. That means he was hit in the head.
we were under the pump, and I was thinking, geez, I hope we can go in only down 12-6. And obviously, Taruva coming off probably cost him a try because against the run of play, there was a real nice bit of interchange, a beautiful short ball from Galvin to Alex Seyfarth, who put him through a hole. I thought Alex Seyfarth should have gone back inside to Lockie, who would have scored near the post, but he went out to Toa, who ended up scoring in the corner. Again, but not being too critical. I don't know how it looked on TV, mate, but did he dive too early? Did the ball come loose? Like, how did you see that, Adel?
No, first of all, I'm glad he went to the outside because Metcalf was there, so Galvin would have got tackled.
Okay.
So he actually made the right decision. Look, this is the weird part about the game. They had a plan, and this is where you got to give a big tick to Benji and his staff because we went at Harris Tavita all first half. He had not 18 or 19 tackles at halftime, and they just pounded away and pounded away and pounded away until Lockie kept going at him, and then we created that situation where we asked for him to take a bit of an easy option. He did. He sunk out, and Seyfarth went through. So it was really good strategy from us. You would have seen out of Yardage. Excuse me. We shifted the ball quite a bit, but the reason we shifted it was to get our outside backs to actually run it to Harris Tavita. I think there was two parts of it. One was to make him make as many tackles as possible, but secondly, he wasn't someone that was going to dominate us out of Yardage. So it meant we were able to get on the front foot a little bit. The problem with that is in the second half he only made 11 tackles, so they went away from the plan. But in regards to Toa, no, I thought he just got there and dived right on the line and scored the try. So yeah,
And I tell you what,
good.
when Callan De Silva lined up that kick into that strong wind, I'm like, son, what are you doing? You've taken the ball way too far back. You're not going to even get the distance here. And I got to tell you, mate, I don't know, in the last 20 or 30 years, that's got to be one of the best goal kicks I've ever seen. That was such a cyclonic wind to get the distance on that, to allow for the wind, get that draw, get it over the post, over the crossbar. It was a magnificent conversion. I could not believe he made that kick. And look, at 12-all, Adele, with that wind behind us in the second half, what I thought was going to be a strong wind behind us, I thought the game's for us. I knew we had a lot of injuries, but the one thing I just kept saying to myself is if Taruva comes back on, that right edge at least is consistent to what it's been for the last 3 weeks. We just got to sort out our left side situation. Maybe Jack Bird plays centre, and that's going to be a bit of an issue having not played next to Fata Ape before, but we'll work that out. And I really thought the game was in our keeping, but then we got off to a terrible start. And again, I need you to correct me if I'm saying anything wrong because I'm only going off having watched the game live. I thought the first set we had the ball was awful. I don't think we got a really good kick away. And I think they might have even started their set close to 40 metres out from their own line. I could be wrong. They might have got a 6 again or a penalty, but obviously Metcalf scores a try, which Royce Hunt just left a gaping hole. He looked like he had eyes on the first receiver ready to knock his lights out, and Wade Egan went through a gap and put Luke Metcalf through untouched. How did you see all that?
Yeah, it's a hard one. I can't blame Royce Hunt for that. I think he at a defender once Egan jumps out there. I think Terrell was a little bit too passive. He only had one marker. I think it was Talon got left on the ground. That was one of the concerning things that happened throughout the game. How many times we got left with one marker and a bloke on the ground? Talon got left on the ground. Terrell was a bit passive and sort of, and I said it in the tip sheet, even with one marker, I'm going to Egan. I'm taking the ball away from him as much as possible. Because in that situation there, once the ball's out of his hands, well, he doesn't become the threat, which he was in that moment. He got through it. I'm disappointed with Seyfarth's effort on the other side of the ruck. I'm going to talk about a couple of efforts that happened later on in the game a little bit later, but I learned early on coaching that one of the things you coach into players is, and I've heard it said a couple of times in the last couple of weeks by people who are coached by Phil Gould, is sprint. Whenever there's a threat and you're defending, sprint to the threat. And if you're an A defender on the other side of the ruck and you see a dummy half jump out and there's a bit of a threat there, start sprinting. Start sprinting to where the threat is. And he didn't do that. So when the ball did get back to Metcalf on the other side of the ruck, he was not Metcalf, it was Harris Tavita first. It got to Harris Tavita. If say fast effort, which, I don't want to compare us to other teams. You watched the Bulldogs last night, some of those crucial moments that the Sharks had, they had blokes who sprinted to moments and they got there and they made tackles. And these are unsung players out of the Bulldog side that, they were able to do. Our players just can't come up with those in those big moments of being able to sprint when you're tired, when things are not going your way. You got to be able to sprint to any sort of threat there is on the field, and we just didn't do it. And in that moment, Safeheart didn't do it. It allowed Harris Tavita to sort of jog through a draw and pass on Jareem, and it was a try. Disappointing.
Well, look, we probably weathered the storm a little bit for a few minutes after that, but then that's when it just seemed like the newfound West Tigers, the resilience kicked in, and a lot like last week when we were, behind, the other team was dominating, we seemed to find a way. And honestly, Adel, to me, for the next 15, 20 minutes, it looked like we were in total control. Was it Fata'ape's try before Latu's? Can you help me there?
Yeah, Latu Fanu changed the game, Rob. His ability to play with an extra half. So if you look at that try and how they scored that try, it's just a simple block shape from the lock that goes to Jerome, who tips it to Galvin, right? But because you've got a halfback playing that role, he's able to sort of dig into the line, which means everybody sinks in on the Warriors, which creates a space. So once the ball got tipped to Lockie, he's already outside the 3-man. So that kick is through the gate between the half and the centre. And mate, they just couldn't stop that. That's Latu. That's Latu's ability. And I'm not talking about it that it's Latu as the individual. It's Latu as the fact that we ended up with a halfback playing 13 in that situation. So I've been someone that's actually said that we probably don't need a lock who ball plays, but potentially now what I think we might have to do is play Latu off the bench and bring him on in the back end of games to play that 13 role, because it worked. Whether you like it or not, it worked. And I know the result doesn't say that, but I actually think if we don't have injuries, if we don't have some of the issues we've had through the game, I actually think it works for us and it benefits us. So, yeah, that was him creating that. And it was a beautiful little kick from Galvin. Fata'ape almost dropped it, to be honest, if you watch the replay. It just pins in his hand to his body. If he caught that up high, he probably drops the ball. So,
No, it was a great kick. But I look, I hear what you're saying, but at the same time, I feel like to accommodate Latu and Talon on the bench, just you're giving away a lot of size there, Adele. I think it's a big ask of Latu to play 13.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree or disagree. That sounds weird. So the problem is with the modern day, you've got to have someone.
I know you disagree. Just
no,
disagree.
I don't disagree. It's just in the modern day, with the HIA rule, you've got to have someone who can cover the back line. So I know we've been going with, and this is the thing, I get it, and I think people like the fact that we've got Uppy and Talon. I don't think we can carry Talon on the bench. I think we've got to ask Uppy to play 80 minutes, and if we're going to have a 15, 20-minute spell in between, Latu's got to play that role. As much, and you know what? We just proved today that he can play in the middle because we asked him to defend in the middle. But I think Jack Bird's got to be on the bench to cover his role that he normally plays, but also cover the back line. Because again, if you get a HIA, mate, you've got to have someone with flexibility. And I'd have Latu in the game. I think he's the better footballer right now. I think he's more important to our squad. And I get it. And I understand what talent can bring to the team. But, Melbourne never had a backup for Cameron Smith. They don't have a backup for Harry Grant now. The Cowboys don't have a backup for Reece Robson. Who are the other good hookers in the game? The great hookers don't have. You make them play 80 minutes, and Uppy's proved he can play 80 minutes. So, to me, you make it. You keep him playing 80 minutes. And if you do, you ask Latu to give him that spell. It might be 5 or 10 minutes either side of half time, and he gets the halftime break like that to me. But again, it's about balance. It's understanding what the coaches want, what the plans are. I don't think you need more than 2 middle forwards, especially when you got Terrell May in your team. And Fanua was outstanding, playing 70 minutes. So to me, and we know Twali can play big minutes. So yeah, I mean Hunt, Sione, yeah, and then you sort of figure out what you want to do with that. You probably want Bird on the bench so he can play that role. So if you end up with Hunt, Sione, Royce Hunt, Sione and Jack Bird, I think the decision becomes whether you go with Latu or whether you go with Talon.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you about Latu. I don't want this to sound too weird, but let's be frank, with Lockie Galvin and Jerome Luai, they're both primarily 5'8s. So I actually think it really worked to have a genuine number 7 there. It actually made them both look good. He just seemed to be that perfect link between both of them. And because we do have 2 5'8s, whether we like it or not. I know Jerome's doing a wonderful job and trying his hardest at 7, and he was very courageous tonight too. It looked like his shoulder was gone. 20 minutes left of that game, and it probably cost us a try down our left with that injury. But I just think Latu is the genuine number 7, and he made us look better. We had a lot more shape when he was out there.
But that's because I don't think he did that because he's a genuine 7. I think he did that because we ended up playing with a different. We had a point of difference to what people are training to play against us. All of a sudden, we had a person playing in the middle as a ball player who could dig into the line, make them sink a little bit, and then play. And that's my point about playing a bit more off Uppy.
Yeah.
If that shape is being run with Uppy being the one straightening the attack, well, yeah. But mate, smarter people than me are in those roles, and then they'll figure that out.
And then obviously a few minutes later, the man himself just gets the ball at first receiver, and there was a hole as big as the Sydney Heads, and he just went straight through. And you started thinking, I knew there was a lot of time left, but you just start thinking, wow, we've turned this around. We might be able to win this bloody thing.
Yeah, it's. I think they would have spotted that. That's happened now twice to the Warriors. It happened in round 1. Isaiah Yeo scored a try for Penrith, doing that where you sort of set up the shape and sort of go back against the grain against some of their lazy middle forwards. It was a great try. It was a really good try. It was really well spotted. You can tell how popular Latu is in the group as well from the reaction of the boys with that try. So that was a really good moment. But I also got to give the Warriors coach Andrew Webster a big rap. You could actually look at it both ways, but as soon as that try was scored, and this is where the good coaches are really, really good. And I think actually Benji did a really good job with that as well with us. When they scored, he got Appy straight on. They put Barnett and Fisher Harris come straight back on as well. And that sort of changed the game a little bit, consolidated their middle of the field. We didn't be able to punch through as much as we could in that little 5-minute period before that. So you got to give Webster a bit of credit with doing that. But yeah, 24-18. That was the moment where we had to start to nail our moments, and we didn't. We didn't.
Well, we certainly got a couple of opportunities, Adele. I guess you're gonna. I know what you're going to say about Terrell May because we've had a little bit of a chat about it now, and look, we can't knock Terrell May. Like, he's played 80 minutes. He's made 55 tackles, 1 missed. I think it was 181 meters or something like that. It's just ridiculous. Comparing prop forwards to prop forwards, when you look at the output of, like a Royce Hunt who comes off the bench, I know he's a different type of player, but you're not getting twice the player, you're getting 4 times the player in Terrell May. But talk us through that no try, mate. I mean, he didn't look supremely confident, but I think you mentioned to me in the car that perhaps if he just lowers his body and takes his centre of gravity to the ground, that's a certain try.
Yeah, I said before about another thing, how many times that happens. But if you give Terrell May in that situation another 9 times out of 10, he probably scores the try and just runs over the bloke. And I think that's what he thought he was going to do. Mate, that's just unlucky. Again, you get him that opportunity again, he probably still puts the ball down. It just somehow slipped out of his hand. Just crazy. These are the things that you sort of sit there and go, like I said to you, everything that could have went wrong for us. And it wasn't necessarily our own fault, but it was just one of those nights, which is why I'm a little bit pissed off with with the end result and how that happened. But yeah, I'm sitting there going, mate, potentially drop your body is what I said to you before. Is you just drop your body, drop your legs, and sort of fall. But mate, again, like you just said, look at the output the guy's putting in. That's not the reason we lost the game.
No, and it kind of hurts that you get doubly punished for no try. So in that instance, the Warriors get a 7-tackle set, and then a few minutes later, I mean, maybe it was too good to be true. We jumped up like maniacs in the grandstand. Like Buller just went through a hole that looked too good to be true, and Stafford Toa has taken someone out or run the wrong line and hit the guy's shoulder. And again, I don't know, Adele, if you want to touch on what Stafford Toa did there, but not only, like, the thing for me is if we don't score there and there's just no illegal play, you can work it back to the middle. You might put a grubber kick in for a repeat set. You might go for a field goal. You might put another shot on them in a different way. But to have a no try compounded by a penalty, once we had 2 no tries in a row, it was like, I don't like how this is going to finish this game.
Yeah, before I go to that, there is something else that I really will address, and that is the penalty against Latu Fainu. Absolutely ridiculous. Where he just
just refresh our memory. That's when he was sort of on his haunches on the ground, and a Warriors player went over the top of him and put himself in danger.
Absolutely ridiculous. That was a penalty. Crazy. And then on the back of that, Terrell May gets penalised for not letting go when the other player's actually grabbing him by his collar and just punching him. Yeah. And we've seen in depending on other teams, they actually say that's striking. It doesn't matter if it's a jersey punch, they call it. Then we get called for a 6 to go call, and then they get a couple of restarts, and then we finally do get a penalty out of Yardage. So, but we just went through 5 or 6. I think it was 4 or 5 sets of them having the ball, which again takes a bit of juice away from you. But then, the Toa try, I think there was 2 parts to it. I think we should have hit Toa with the ball because that was on Harris Tavita isolated. But the players now but this rule has been around long enough with the lead lines on outside shoulders. And the good teams at the moment, those lead runners, understand the moment you're about to hit someone's outside shoulder, if you make an effort to get out of the way and the defender tries to milk it, the video referee won't reward you. Whereas Stafford Toa just ran straight into him. So that's I call them boneheaded play, basically. You've got to be smarter in that situation. Tough. What do you review?
Can't do anything, man. It just wasn't meant to be tonight. It just wasn't meant to be.
I'm going to be critical. I'm going to be critical. I'm going to be critical of Toa again in a little bit. But how do you can't really say anything more than that because at the end of the day, he's in our best 17. That's the best we've got right now, and he's good's really really good. But you've got to be a little bit smarter, and that's just not him. Other people have done it. We've considered. I think there was another try. It might have been last week or the week before where. Someone else got taken away from us, so we got penalised for someone hitting an outside shoulder as well. So a bit more detail and understanding and be a bit better in that situation.
Yeah, just on that penalty against Latu Fainu, Adele, I feel like that referee's, I shouldn't be critical. He's only a new ref, but based on that spirit of the game penalty last week, he just seems to be like another Bill Harrigan clone. Like he wants to make a name for himself. He wants to come up with penalties that no one else comes up with just to be different. He's actually, I think he's a dangerous referee. I think referees need to be consistent. They need not to be noticed. But boy, he was noticed tonight. He wasn't as bad as the referee that had the Storm St George game yesterday. I can't believe the leg up the Storm got yesterday. That's another story. But the Storm still didn't get it done. Saints were too good, and I kind of hope we were going to do the same tonight. But anyway, so we had those couple of no tries, and then obviously we sort of finished a decent set down in New Zealand's territory. And am I right in saying the next try was it was their last try, the 80-meter effort down our blind side when I think Jerome Luai was trying to hide on the sideline with his bung shoulder.
Yeah, no, I went back and watched that whole passage of play, and we got a penalty out of Yardage. We find touch. We go through a really good set of 6. again, I'm really angry with the fact that we run good shape to the right side. Jareem pokes his nose through, earns a quick play the ball and tackle for it just inside their half. And Mitch Barnett comes across after not being involved in the tackle, wraps his arms and slows the ruck down, slows the play the ball after he's up getting ready to play the ball. Now, I promise you, if that's any other situation with a high profile team, the referee just gives 6 to go and has no hesitation doing it. We don't get it. We then play the next play to the short side, to the middle of the field. We then we get a quick, Latu pokes his nose through, we get a quick play the ball, and Lockie goes down the right-hand side of the field. I think they wanted to run the ball, and he does it again later in the game. Stafford Toa is sitting 15 metres behind the play.
Yeah.
If he's up, I think Lockie throws it, the winger's back, and I think at the very least we create and we get to turn them around in a situation where we've got all our guys coming forward and they're going to receive the ball. So we're going to end up turning the ball with a slow start, getting the ball's not in play. We kick the ball, we put it in the corner, we still get a good result. Problem we've got is we actually end up on tackle 2 with the ball being played right on the tram line, which is the 20-metre line in from the sideline. Now, from there, you should have 7 defenders to your open side. We have 5. So that's where the problem is staying. Now, the next part of it is it's normal that the halves will go stand on the wing so that they can't, the good teams will do it so that teams can't, if they do want to target them like we did to Harris Tavita, they can't target them, they don't make the tackle, and they can sort of roll on the back of it. What happened to us was they shifted the ball and they go in between Bird and Fata'ape, and it's Luke Metcalf carrying the ball. So I'm not really worried about that it's Luke Metcalf carrying the ball. The problem is Fata'ape makes contact, loses his legs, then ends up underneath. We end up with one marker. They see the opportunity, they go down the short side. They go on the short side with a 3-on-2. Now, you and I have had the discussion. In that situation there, if Luai stays out, well, then Tuapiki goes straight through. Excuse me. So the danger was the danger. Oh, that winger, I told you about him before, Halasima. He wasn't the winger, he's the back row, but he's a guy that can play in the forwards and can also play in the back line. He's a freak. He's going to be the next sensation coming out of New Zealand. So what he did there was unbelievable. I want everybody to go back. I'm not picking on Fata'ape, but I am picking on Fata'ape because as a coach, I'm sitting there going, here's an opportunity for you. Here's an opportunity for you. You're in and out of the team every week. We want to see efforts from you. We want to see moments. He had no involvement in the previous set of 6. He didn't carry the ball once. He's playing on the wing. He's barely doing any effort. He made 10 tackles in the whole game. So you're not one of the tired players. You get left on the ground, you get up. They shift down your side of the field. And if you go back and watch it, he just jogs. Now, why am I highlighting this? Is because they make a break. Jareem gets across that. Jareem's got to make that tackle. That's, they'll video that, they'll clip that, how to be better, and show him the sideline and use the sideline as an extra defender and make sure that he can't step back on your inside. And then the guy does Jack Bird, but I'm not going to blame Jack Bird because his effort was outstanding. When he steps Jack Bird, if Solomon Fata'ape sprints back to the threat from behind, he probably tackles him. That's the difference.
Yeah.
That's the difference between the good sides, the good players, and the teams that go, oh, well, they've made a break. Hopefully somebody else is there. And if he stops them, then I'll get back, which he didn't do. And you could probably say the same for whoever else. Well, Jerome made the tackle. Whoever else was on that side of the field, that we should have been a bit more urgent. I can even probably look at you and go, well, where was the other centre and other winger from the other side? And that's just being hypercritical. But in particular, I'm looking at Fata'ape because that's your wing. You've just lost the tackle for us, the previous tackle, because you've taken a shortcut in defence and you haven't won the wrestle, which as a centre you're probably more accustomed to be able to do a little bit better than being just a genuine winger. So they're the sort of things when you look at video, you look at them and go, okay, where's the effort there? Where's the effort play? There was no effort play, and that's the difference. And it could have been him, it could have been Coruscant, it could have been anybody. But in that situation, it was him, and he needed to be better. Because I can't blame Luai. I think it was Sione Fainu, who was the other bloke on the short side. They've got a 3-on-2. You just take your man, you make them throw the extra pass, which they did. They end up with a back rower on the wing. and he executes. It's freakish individual ability. So good luck to him.
Just digressing slightly, Adele. I was surprised Fatahape was called up. It seems like Charlie Staines wasn't named in a cup side, wasn't named in first grade. Do you think perhaps Charlie Staines is about to be moved on and we're not aware of any of this at the moment?
Yeah, look, the club is doing as frustrating as this is for us. The club is doing a very, very good job at the moment, keeping everything in-house. It's weird, this Charlie Staines situation. Like, to me, it looks like he's on his way out. There must be an opportunity. I wasn't there. Did you see him anywhere on the sideline or behind the bench at all? Because it looked to
I
me
was up in
like,
the stand, so I didn't see anything.
yeah, it looks to me like the only thing usually they'll come out and say there's an injury. No one, because we're a team coming last. No one really cares about us. So no one's asked a question about him. But yeah, that was. To me, yeah, he has to either be injured or he's in the same position that Clemmer was in, and he's found another club, and they're going to let him. They're going to release him. But yeah, weird one. Without having a crack too much at him, I thought Jack Bird as a replacement in the centres was really, really good. But yeah.
So we're at 24 all, Adele, and obviously it was a really bad 2 or 3 minute period for us. We seem to have them under control, and again, I stand corrected because I haven't rewatched the game, but I'm pretty sure it was on perhaps the second last tackle, so it was about to be tackle 5. I can't remember who the New Zealand player was, but he deliberately headbutts Alex Seyfarth in the shoulder, stays down and gets a penalty for it. Your thoughts on that incident?
Well, there's two parts to it. One is I've been sent something from a very reliable person that this is not the first time that Nickel Clockstad has actually done this. So it's going to be, I'm going to find out. I'm going to review it.
Why didn't he come off for an HIA?
That's a very good question. The NRL came at the end of last year and said they're not going to reward players for staying down. Now, there is too many nerds involved in rugby league right now where this whole, shoulder, if it hits his shoulder and if your shoulder hits his head, it's a penalty. Any head contact is a penalty. But Alex Seyfarth, I actually think the same as the Jerome Luai one earlier. If your body level does not change, but the attacker's actually lowers himself, then the duty of care, like what's your duty of care? Turn up to a game and watch these guys at full speed. Do you know the change, how hard it is to change your body level in a split second is ridiculously tough. And in that situation there, Alex Seyfarth is going into a tackle. He does not change his body level. It's Nickel Clockstad that changes his, and his head falls into Alex Seyfarth's shoulder. That's literally what happens there. That's one part of it. The contact was minimal. I will say this to you, Rob. If that was in the last, it was in the 72 and 16 seconds. Is exactly what it says. If that was a high-profile team, I promise you they don't get the penalty. I guarantee it, because, like I said to you previously, the pressure on referees and video referees there, and this is the thing, you can't blame the referee there. You're blaming the video referee, and the video referee sitting in the bunker with his feet up.
Yeah, Adele, sorry, I'm blaming the system here because I will bet my house that Alex Seyfarth doesn't get suspended. But they know in the video refs box that you can't offer New Zealand a penalty without putting it on report. That's how they've tried to nullify this situation of milking. They've tried to say that if you milk a penalty, but we don't deem it to be on report, you're not getting a penalty. Therefore, if it's a reportable offence, we can penalise. And as you said, there's minimal contact there. Alex doesn't change his his height of where he's tackling, and just as importantly, nor does Nickel Clockstad. He's got eyes on on Seyfarth's shoulder. It's just one of those things that happens in the game, and it's unfair that we get penalised. And look, it happens to all teams. It just doesn't happen to our team. But for that penalty to be given on, I believe it was the 5th tackle. You've got the video going there in the background. I'm pretty sure it was between tackle 4 and about to be tackle 5. They're going to put a bomb up, 40 metres out from our line, and we're going to defuse it, and we're going to go back the other end, and who knows, we might have got a 6 again, or a penalty, or worked a field goal. It was just the icing on the cake, man, of just things that, like, every single thing that could go wrong. With injuries went wrong, and then we're not getting the rub of the green from the referee as well. I just thought it was an awful decision, and I still thought I actually didn't know if Metcalf was going to make the kick, because it's still a decent distance out, and I don't know, did he bank it off the upright? I think it just grazed the upright, maybe. It didn't look like it went up the dot.
That was pretty much black dot, yeah.
Oh, was it black dot? Okay, from my angle, I couldn't really tell. I just saw there was a bit of a reaction, and I saw the touch judges moving quite a bit in one direction, so I thought maybe it was close to the post. But I still thought there was enough time for us to come back. And look, we had a couple of chances in the end there, Adel. We had a beautiful grubber kick from Luai about 15 metres out from our own line, a cross kick where Fatahape was clearly going to be the first to the ball. He maybe didn't have the confidence to pick it up. He did have Jack Bird inside, but it wouldn't have been a try. But I would have thought that Fatahape at a minimum would have just thought, you know what, this is early in the tackle count. It might have been tackle 3 or tackle 4. Dive on the ball, give your teammates a chance to come up. You never know. You might get New Zealand offside. We might be in a position to take a penalty and equalise the score. I just thought it was a really poor play. And not only that, I was taught in year 7, when you're trying to control a ball along the ground. It was actually a rugby union ball. It wasn't a rugby league ball, but it was a rugby union ball. I was always taught to kick the ball ahead with the insteps of your feet. He not only doesn't kick it with the instep, he kicks it with the wrong foot. Like, he needs to be kicking it with his left foot, and he needs to be kicking it with the instep, because we were trained, early in high school to basically control a ball with our insteps and go for 40 or 50 meters. Just control, and the only way you could do that is to keep using the instep of either one of your feet. I just thought it just showed no IQ, that he just had a heave at it with his right foot, kicking it in the wrong direction. It's just a really poor play. No comment there, mate. You're just going to nod your head, and do you totally disagree with what I'm saying?
Look, at the end of the day, mate, the guy plays for our club. I'm sure that he's trying to do his best. He actually come up with a play just before it as well, where we ran it on tackle. I think it would have been tackle 5, and Lockie throws a looping ball, but he wasn't even looking. He was sort of. I don't know, mate. I don't want to be negative. Like, I don't.
No, I'm just being critical of the play, mate. If I'm going to be straight up, Adel, if I'm going to be straight up,
I understand. I understand.
I said last week that even in our 2 comfortable victories, we're not a team that can afford a weak link, okay? Like a weak link in our team. I'm not calling for there's one bloke who I thought was a weak link tonight, and he only got 20 minutes out, okay? And people can, should be able to automatically conclude who that is. But the other blokes busted their asses. I thought one bloke wasn't on his game at all. He missed 2 tackles. He had 2 ineffective tackles. He left a gaping hole for Wade Egan to run through to set up Metcalf. Like, I thought one guy was really awful, and he's been one of our best. The impact he's made off the bench the last few weeks has been sensational, but he was absolute garbage tonight. And he let the team down. He not only couldn't produce minutes, his quality wasn't there at all. But I thought everyone else, and I know you've referred to Toa, I know you've referred to Fatahape and a couple of other incidents. Those guys tried hard all night, whether they're up to it or not, or made some poor decisions. That's life. But I just felt one bloke really let us down tonight. I'm not having a go at the others. I thought the others were courageous, and that's what really hurts about this loss, to turn around a game that you had no right to win, and them being in a winning position, 6 points ahead, 2 no tries, which were correct decisions. But I really feel if Terrell May scores, or even Buller scores, we might even win by 18. Like, it's not even going to be a close finish. We were totally on top of them. It's just hard to see those sort of things happen. Sorry, mate, if I've rambled on. You chime in and say what you want to say.
I disagree with you about Royce Hunt, because Royce Hunt is like, if you use cricketing analogy, right? Royce Hunt is a pinch hitter. Royce Hunt's the guy that in a T20 game or in a one-day game, you're going to put in at the end, try to score runs. He's a guy that's not going to give you big minutes. We've talked about this, right? But you want to put his output. Well, we barely had the ball when he was on the field. Okay, but he had 3 runs for 33 meters. His play the ball speed was 2.1 seconds. So at the end of the day, and that's all that's his strength. That's what he does, right? And defensively, made 15 tackles and missed 2. So I get what you're saying, right? Missing 2 tackles now is actually not a thing. But I've talked to you about what missed tackles. I don't agree with you about the Wade Egan try. I know you just said he left the game home.
Yeah,
I don't
I think it's totally his fault, mate. I totally disagree with you. I
No.
think that's totally on him to charge up like a wounded bull and not even have eyes for the most dangerous player in their team who I haven't seen the TV or anything, but I'm sure Wade Egan would have got everyone's man of the match if they're being objective. I just can't believe he would do that from 20 metres out from our own line.
No, well, it wasn't. It was about 30 out. It was about 20 between the 20 and 30. The thing, I'll tell you why it's not his fault. If let's say that we had 2 markers, okay,
Yeah.
and Egan passes to that guy, and Royce Hunt's sitting on the back foot. We're
But we
saying,
didn't have
where's your
2
line
markers,
speed?
Adel.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. It's actually irrelevant. At the end of the day, you want to have line speed, Rob. You're a defender. Doesn't matter what the situation is. You want to have line speed. It's even worse if you've got 1 marker and your A defender is sitting deep and being passive. They're going to roll us. So it's even worse. Like I said to you, it's Terrell May's job as 1 marker is the dummy half and nobody else. So once the dummy half jumps, well, my job is him. And he sort of was a little bit passive and hung off, and he gave him that space. But Terrell May made the tackle. That's what I'm saying to you. So he actually got his threat. Why I'm disappointed, and at the end of the day, they didn't score. They didn't create the space off the back of Royce Hunt. They created it on the other side of the ruck where Harris Tavita pushed up. And you probably haven't watched it and haven't seen it yet, but you'll see it. And I
No, I
understand
haven't.
what you're
I
saying about
haven't
Royce.
seen it.
What you're saying about Royce Hunt, but that's what we're going to ask of him. We need him to have line speed there, and he had his line speed. So you can't fault him for that.
But I would
Unfortunately,
say the same. I would say the same thing in that same situation. If the Warriors were 1 metre out from our line and he took off like a wounded bull and left a hole for Wade Egan to go through there, I would say the same thing whether he's 1 metre out or flip the situation. If Happy Coruscant's at dummy half and the A defender takes up like that, you're just giving an invitation to Happy Coruscant to run through. I'd stand. Look, I'm going to disagree with you on that one, mate. I know what you're saying, but it's. Well, it's like saying the 3-on-2 that Jerome Luai should have stayed out and not adjusted to the situation. Like Jerome Luai's seen 3-on-2, he could have hung back on his winger, but he knows then another bloke's going to go through. So he's adjusted to the situation, and he's come in and taken someone else's man and left the winger unmarked or the back rower who was on the wing, and he goes 70 metres and scores. Like, I just think you've got to adjust to the situation. And I don't know, mate. I just thought it was a brainless play. I actually just thought it was just a dumb play.
I'm not saying that he doesn't have a responsibility in that. When you review it, you also look at that from that perspective. Is, mate, and I'll give it to you from my perspective. If I'm videoing that, I'm saying, Royce, we appreciate the line speed, and that's what we're asking for. But in that situation, he still got on your inside shoulder. And I've mentioned that in previous weeks. So you still give the responsibility, that's your responsibility. But the cause of it is actually those parts. And that's what I'm trying to explain. Like, you can't sit there and go, that's Royce Hunt's fault. And without looking at parts A and B, he could potentially be part C of fault, but not A and B, if you understand what I'm trying to say.
Well, regardless of his performance, Adel, moving forward, we cannot carry Talon, Latu, and 2 middles when 1 middle can only bust out 20 to 30 minutes. Sorry. I just don't think – I think that's going to be a recipe for disaster. So you're probably going to find that Latu or Talon won't be there next week, or at least both on the bench. If one of them's to be there for whatever reason, they might be in the starting team. But I cannot see us accommodating both those players on the bench. What do you think of that?
Yeah, like I said to you, our 3 starting middle forwards all can play big minutes. I'm trying to look. Twali played 39, Fanua played 70, and Terrell played 80. So you want those guys on the field as much as possible anyway. So to me, I'm a little bit different to you. I think I'd like Royce Hunt on the field, on the bench. I just think that potentially he's not in the original rotation. So maybe you look at playing him where, you do anticipate situations in the game where we're a little bit on the front foot, or you play him in the last, 10 to 15 of the game. But I think he can have an impact for us. I still think he can have an impact. At the end of the day, he's still one of our better middles in the club. And that's the key. We don't have anyone, if it's not him, who is it?
We've got to have someone that can play 40 to 45 minutes, surely. But
you've got but Rob, you're starting front row. You're starting three middles, all play big minutes. Like, that's what I'm trying to say to you. Like, if we didn't have those guys that can play big minutes, I'd agree with you. I'd say you can't. You just can't carry that. But you can carry it because of the fact that you've got that.
I don't think, look, again, I could be wrong here. I don't think it's sustainable to have Terrell, May, and Fanua Bole playing 80 and 70 minutes. I just think that's so unrealistic. I know, you've mentioned to me privately that, Payne Haas can bust out big minutes. Why can't Terrell, May? But I just think moving forward, that's really just asking too much. And we're trying to keep players reasonably fresh, and like we want them to be able to enjoy their season and be able to provide total quality. I think down the track, some of that quality is just going to decrease. You're not going to get the quality we're getting from Terrell May right now if we persevere with playing him for 70 minutes.
I don't agree. I think that, as I said to you, Brisbane have Carrigan and Haas who do that. Isaiah Eos plays 80 minutes for Penrith. I'm trying to think someone like Josh King at Melt. Yeah, but it's the same thing. It's the same thing. You're playing in the middle. Your hookers. Those teams have got hookers, and Brisbane don't, but Penrith have both their hooker and their lock player in the middle of the field and playing 80 minutes. Isaiah carries just as many carries in the games. People think that he just sits there and ball plays all game. He touches the ball a lot, but he has like 15, 16 carries a game as well. So I don't think it's too much to ask. I think if you look at all the other teams, they've got that. So, and to me, Terrell's an Origin player. So if Terrell May had played Origin and had come to us, we'd be okay with it. Paul Gallen did it all his career. That's just how he's built. The impressive thing for me was Fanua did it today, and he was outstanding. And he's only going to get. We seen it last year. He's only going to get better and better with the more match fitness as the season goes along. I don't agree with you on that. I think those two, the more we can have them on the field, the better. It's just the challenge for the coaches becomes what our interchange rotation looks like. That's the key. This is the art of it now. Is how do you manage who plays what minutes at what periods, and how do you break down their spells so that you're getting the maximum output? In the last couple of weeks, we've seen Terrell play 63 and then come off. You look at the Broncos; they played Payne Haas in round one. They played him for 30, got him back on, and played the last 30. Is that the route you go? I think Payne Haas the other night, I was actually at the game at Suncorp. He come off for like 6 minutes, 7 minutes. Actually, no, he come off before half time. Was it that game? It might have been.
He came off before half time the week before, I think.
Yeah, and then so they're not going by one plan. They're sort of planning it every week, sort of to the situation. I think that's what we've got to do. But yeah, to me, it's a positive, mate. Like I said to you before, privately, all things falling in line tonight, I think we're okay. Like, forget all that. Mate, just give us 50% of the possession. They ended up with 52-48. I know it's easy to say, Rob, but I don't know. Like, at the end of the day, we lost the game by 2 points. And I know it's still to sit there and we want to be perfect, but we're not going to be perfect. And this is with all these little things we've highlighted. Like I said to you, round one, if that Taruva, when we put that kick and Taruva catches the ball, and I know some people said to me, if he catches and passes, Toa's under the post, which he probably is, and Toa scores, are we having this same conversation?
Well, it's funny. That was literally the last moment of the game I was going to ask you about.
Yeah,
so Firstly, was Taruva onside because that looked touch and go from the kick. Have you had a chance to rewatch that? From where I was watching,
Yeah,
I was thinking this could be trouble.
look, he was onside. I've seen some calls over the weekend where they've gone to video ref. The blokes looks offside, and they've said onside. I mean, you're right. If they probably go to the video ref, they would have found a technicality because it's just us. But no, he was onside. But yeah, if he does catch and pass, it would have been brilliant and Toa scores. But I'm not going to hate him for that. Like we just talked about Fata Ape, not being composed there. I would have rathered Tito say, no, I'll hold the balls, only tackle two, I'll get tackled and we'll have another couple of cracks at him. We just had nobody at dummy half. But going back to what I was saying, I'm not going to let you get off with this, is would our conversation be different if we scored in the last minute? Because it has to be. It had to have been the same conversation because the game doesn't change.
No, the conversation is different because I stand corrected, but I think you're misunderstanding what I'm trying to say. I'm devastated that these guys were absolutely heroic tonight as a whole. There were so many moments in that game, particularly later in the first half, where I was thinking, please give me half time so we can work out what our formation is going to be in the second half, because there were blokes having to play on all different sort of areas and we were scrambling and we were busting our ass, and you're thinking, how are we going to survive the next 40 minutes? We went from having no interchanges after 20 odd minutes to having used 6 interchanges shortly after half time.
With 30 to
So,
go. Yeah.
so you're thinking to yourself, we're going to get, we're going great, good on the boys, but we're asking too much. We're not going to win this game. And then they find their second wind and they get on top. And they have a couple of moments where they might have broken their back, just like we did to the Dolphins when Appy went from dummy half and scored last week and got out to 12 points. And you think, that's it. It hurts. I mean, tonight it felt like if we win, I know it's so early in the season, but if we win, we're a really good chance of sort of, eighth to anywhere lower than that. And now I kind of feel like, maybe it's going to be 11th to 14th, because what tonight just reinforced for me, Adel, was again, I keep saying it every week on our normal podcast on Wednesday night from the Orange Grove, we're lacking depth, mate. We are lacking depth. We're relying on, especially some of the forwards. We need Appy, we need Terrell, we need Fanua, we need them to be Herculean. But they overcame so much tonight. They overcame not having Adam. They overcame not having Samuela. Latu had to play in the middle, and he was brilliant. We couldn't put Talon back on, probably because of lack of interchanges left. And, you're putting a square piece into a round hole. Like we needed some oomph. We didn't need another dummy half out there. We were already small enough. Like, there are so many heroic things. I'm absolutely proud of this performance. I know there's moments there, and obviously some of the bad decisions come under duress, come under fatigue. I'm quite sensitive to that. It just hurts from an overall year's perspective. We're already lacking depth. It feels like if Charlie Staines is on the outer, where it feels like we've got at least 3 roster spots up for grabs. We certainly need another outside back. We need Naden back real quick. We need Adam back real quick. We definitely need a couple of edge back rowers, maybe a middle. I don't know. It just seems like it's a work in progress. But had we won tonight, it just would have been so uplifting for this group. It would have created a lot more belief. I think they can all hold their heads up high as a group, but mate, it hurts. This is just still too raw for me. What are we? We're at 11 o'clock at night, and the game finished at around 8 o'clock. Like, I'm still on tilt, mate. I got a sore back. I'm pissed off. I hate losing games at Campbelltown. Like, the one area that needs to win games, and we don't win games there. Like, that really shits me. And it's not the players' fault. It's happened. Like, Tigers teams of old would never have survived that. They never would have survived losing a player before the game, or we lost Corey Thompson before a game that we needed to make a semi-final with, and we got beaten by 4 scores by Cronulla at Leichhardt Oval. Like, this went down to the wire, and it's a great effort, but it just hurts that the 2 games we've lost were 2 points, and the big wins were 26 points and 12 points. It's good for our for and against, don't get me wrong, but it's just awful for the rest of it. Mate, can I ask you, do you want to touch on any plays or any players that we might not have mentioned. I mean, we've talked a lot about Terrell, Fanua. You know, I mean, I thought Appy was brilliant. Yeah, there were a lot of good moments out there. Is there any other people you want to touch on?
No, I just think that I want to, and I'm not sort of showing my bias, but I want to touch on. I thought Benji's press conference was really important in the sense that you could see the frustration in him, but his message is one that's got to be clear for us. And I said this to you privately. It's yeah, everything you just basically stated then is very, very true. Like you're frustrated for the players, and it's frustrating that everything went right and all their efforts and all that sort of stuff. At the end of the day, we've got to get on with it now, and that's the key, right? Because, like I said to you, if I said to you last week, the next 2 weeks we've got the Warriors at home and the Broncos away, and we win one out of the two, you probably say to me, okay, that's good. We probably don't expect to beat the Broncos, but all we've got to do now is turn up to Suncorp next week, and the Broncos are a little bit of a enigma at the moment. Like they're not the easiest, they're not the most comfortable team to watch as a coach and as a spectator because they can make some errors. If we can turn up to Suncorp next week, I know it's easier said than done, and win. Well, guess what? This week gets put behind you. And I'm only giving you a coach's mentality right now. And this is everything I come with is about. Okay, it's done. Let's learn, whether it's win or loss. Now the next one, and the next one to us is the Broncos. That's all we've got to do now. We've got to turn around and look into next week. And that's what's impressed me about Benji. It's like, yep, really upset for the players. Nothing went our way tonight. We didn't get anything go our way is more what he said, and he was really pissed off about it. But he said it's time for us to move on and get on with it. And that is to play the Broncos next week, turn up to Suncorp and ambush them. And what we've learned from our boys is they are tough, they are resilient. They just come back from Brisbane and they enjoyed the trip. They won a game there. So how do we turn the mentality into next week? Let's fire up. Let's train hard this week. Let's get to Brisbane. Let's get to Suncorp. We've kind of got a weird okay, like we've had some okay performances against the Broncos in all our years. So let's turn up there. Let's ambush them. They're a team that can have the bad game and can leak points in particular. Let's turn it into that. That's sort of my message. If I'm going at it from a coach's perspective, talking to our people now is, let's rip in next week. Let's turn it around. Let's not make it like if we lose a game, well, automatically we're almost feeling a little bit insecure about ourselves, and I can feel it because I'm the same. Let's not feel insecure about ourselves. Let's be a bit more confident in what we're doing, and sort of if you want to go big picture, we got Broncos, Knights, Parramatta, Sharks at home at Leichhardt. We're back at Leichhardt. And then the Dragons. Like, to me, I'm sitting there going, okay, well, the next 5 games, I think realistically we can win 3 out of those 5. Let's attack that.
Yeah, to use sort of tennis parlance, I mean, I kind of think of like home games as your serve and away games as the opponent's serve, and like we had our serve broken, then we've broken back, and then we've got the break up, and like tonight was a chance to consolidate that break of serve. It really hurts from the overall year standpoint. I get all that. Anyone who's not proud of that performance is really kidding themselves. I just can't. I think it'll take 24 hours at least mentally for these guys to try and get over that and recover and get upbeat about everything. And sorry, I've had to change positions here. My phone was about to go dead. One thing I do want to point out, Adel, and again, I haven't really looked at the stats. I don't think, and I'm not singling out Fata Ape, I'm actually singling out Jarrell Skelton here. I think Fata Ape had something to the effect of 60 metres tonight. And, Jarrell Skelton normally gives you that 150, 160 metres. I just think it shows how important Skelton is to our yardage, and not only to finishing off tries and being in the right position and making the right decisions, but just his yardage alone. It's just such a huge difference when you got one bloke out.
It's not even about his numbers. It's about us. And what I said a little bit earlier is our average, I'll just quickly bring it up. Our average set distance was 33 meters, I think it was. Let me see if I can find it. It was 38 meters. Like, it's unheard of that you're less than 40. So
Yeah.
that, I think that extra 10 meters, which we've averaged around 47,
Yeah.
made a big difference, because obviously instead of kicking on your 40, every set. You're kicking on your 50 every set, which means the kick's a little bit deeper, and their
Yeah.
start points are deeper. So yeah, absolutely, you are right. Look at their kick return. I'll tell you another big thing that made a difference tonight. Their kick return meters were at 206. Ours was 77.
Yeah.
So that tells you how they were able to start their sets. And it helps
Yeah,
when
I,
you've
I
got
thought they were really enthusiastic. I thought their line speed was, Olympic level sprinting for, probably
mate, they're
trying
a
to
good
point.
team. They're a good
Yeah,
team. They've beat they are, Rob. They've beat the Roosters. Who'd they beat in round 2? Actually, there was someone else. I
they
know they
beat
had a
Manly.
pull down.
They beat Manly when Manly should have got
Yeah,
4 tries in the first 20 minutes.
yeah, they beat Manly. They beat the Roosters, and now they've beaten us. Like, I know they had a poor start in Vegas, which everyone's entitled to a bad first game, especially on a trip away and all that. But
Yeah,
they haven't beat bad teams. They beat Manly and the Roosters before us. So if you go off an analogy, you'd know it from a horse racing analogy. If that's in form, well, their form's not too bad. And they've shown,
yeah,
Webster can coach. They've got a very good forward pack. Barnett and Fisher Harris, there's 2 of the best front rowers in the game. Wade Egan's
yeah.
a quality hooker. They're a good team. And to me, yeah, we would go away from it. I think you said at the start we weren't the better team. I don't know. I think it was like very 50-50 the game. I don't think they were better than us and we were better than them. I think they just carried the ball out of Yardage a little bit better than us.
It's a weird one. I felt like they won the Sats account. I felt like they won the ruck, which is why Wade Egan got to do what he wanted to do. I felt, like you said, their kick chase. You just mentioned the return meters, but it's weird for me to say they were the better team, but we deserve to win. I felt like we deserved to win because we'd overcome so much adversity throughout the game, and then we got our foot on the throat, and we just didn't quite crush their necks for want of a better term.
that's why I was so angry earlier, Rob, about the. You said they won the ruck. That's the referee allowed them in that first 20 minutes. Like
Yeah,
last
I
night,
I
the
agree.
ball, Cameron Thoretto was really angry after the game with how the referee penalised the Bulldogs every time out of Yardage when they pinned them. It's like the referee decided tonight that early in the game, they were able to slow us down and pull us down every time we'd win a ruck or something like that. They'd dominate us for 2 tackles. The third tackle, we'd poke our nose through and he wouldn't reward us. Get a quick play the ball, and a couple of times he only gave it to us. But, yeah, we're a club that has no leverage at the moment. We can't complain. We've also got no money. So it's not like we can afford to be fined $20,000, $30,000. So we've got no
Yeah,
money. We've got to make it.
I know we got no money, mate, but I think 10 grand could be well spent at the moment. It just
It's
seems
not.
to be
It's not 10 grand. It's not 10 grand anymore.
has it changed? Has it?
Mate. It's 40,000-50,000 at the moment. They've come out with an edict at the start of the year. That's why no one's saying anything.
Yeah. Well, anyway, just some final thoughts, mate, about the Broncos game. I know it's really early, but do you think Jerome Luai will line up? Do you think his injury was serious? Have you heard anything? Like while I was driving
No, he's
home, was
fine.
there any talk on any of the news outlets or anything? He's
No,
okay.
yeah, Benji said he's fine. He's fine.
Okay.
I also think, I bet you Alex Seyfarth gets charged.
You reckon he will get charged?
Well, he'll get charged to make sure that. Imagine he doesn't get charged.
Well, that'll just prove my point, wouldn't it? So they'll charge him
Yeah.
and let him off.
They'll charge him and they'll give him a fine. That's what they'll do.
Yeah.
That's what
Did
they'll
they
do.
mention how bad Sam Weller's injury was and what it was?
Yeah, it's just an aggravation of the cork from last week. He was back on the bike. It's again like how weird, right? How weird. Just some of the most weirdest stuff, and he just couldn't run it out. So yeah, he said he should be should be right to go next week.
Fair enough, mate. Anything else you want to say before I call this a night?
No, mate. No, I mean I'll be our representative at the game next week. I'll be at Suncorp. So,
mate, I don't know how, but I want to get up there. I want to get up there. I could actually, maybe I should just jump in the car now and just floor it and take out my frustration on what should have been one of the most heroic wins we've ever had, and just to fall just short really it really hurts. But we like the players, we just gotta absorb it, get over it, and be on our toes and bouncy by Tuesday, Wednesday, and prepare for next Saturday night.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. Did anyone guess the jersey last week?
Mate, we had a lot of guesses, but you haven't told me who it is. But I reckon we have a winner. I just don't. I can find the names. There's someone our comments on the survey form that Josh puts out every week. So anyone who's got that survey form, please fill it out and have a guess, because Adel wants to buy you 2 tickets to the game. And I think there were some comments on YouTube. I thought I threw a few names at you.
Yeah, over everything I've been told, it's incorrect.
It's incorrect. Okay. All right. Well, we might keep that competition going for another week and use it for another game.
By Wednesday night. By Wednesday night, if no one's given it away, I'll say who it is, and no one gets to come to Suncold. But we might try something else a little bit moving forward. See what we can do.
All right. Look, thanks very much for joining us again, Adel. Sorry for me being an absolute sook and a bitch. I love this club so much. It really puts a dampener on, 3-1, a 4-point game, like a 4-point turnaround. We could have been 2 points ahead of the Warriors. Now it's the other way around. And we've got 2 tough road trips coming up. But would have been nice to be 3-1, but that's life. We move on, and make sure you join us, everyone, on Wednesday night from the Orange Grove Hotel at 8:30 live. And we'll see you next time.
See you guys.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the West Tigers Life podcast. You can join us every Wednesday night live at 8:30 p.m. from the Orange Grove Hotel. A big thank you to Orange Grove Hotel for their support, as well as iChoice Home Loans. If you want to hear more from the West Tigers Life podcast, go to westtigers.com.au. That'll be our link tree, and you'll find links to all our social media, and you can sign up at our Patreon at patreon.com/WestLife. Join us next time on West Tigers Life.